Poems are simply reflections of an author's feeling based on his experiences and present situation.
Good day, everyone. Today, I'm going to present to you the poem entitled To the Flowers of Heidelberg by Dr. Jose Rizal, a literature under the Spanish colonialism. But before that, I'm going to tell you about its historical background. Rizal arrived in Heidelberg on February 3, 1866, after he studied medicine in Spain. He went to Heidelberg to study ophthalmology. When Rizal soared to Heidelberg in the year 1866, he was fascinated with the bloom flowers he saw in the Neckar River. Those flowers reminded him of the flowers in their home's garden in Calamba because of his mood of homesickness. In Heidelberg, he was astounded of the flowers along the Neckar River, especially the forget-me-nots, which made him compose the poem A las Flores de Heidelberg, or in English version, To the Flowers of Heidelberg, on April 22, 1866. His poem, To the Flowers of Heidelberg, is simply an expression of his sadness as he remembered his family whom he loved so much. So at this moment, I'm going to recite to you the poem To the Flowers of Heidelberg by Dr. Jose Rizal. Go to my country, go, O foreign flowers, sung by the traveler along the road and under that blue heaven that watches over my loved ones. Recount the devotion the pilgrim nurses for his native soil. Go and say that when dawn opened your chalices for the first time beside the icy Neckar, you saw him silent beside you, thinking of her constant vernal climb. Say that when dawn, which steals your aroma, was whispering playful love songs to your young sweet petals, he, too, murmured canticles of love in his native tongue. That in the morning, when the sun first traces the topmost peak of Koninsduol in gold, and with a mild warmth races to life again the valley, the glade, the forest, he hails the sun, still in its dawning, that in his country in full zenith blazes. And tell of that day when he collected you along the way among the ruins of a feudal castle, on the banks of the Neckar, or in a forest nook. Recount the words he said, as with great care, between the pages of a worn-out book, he pressed the flexible petals that he took. Carry, carry, O flowers, my love to my loved ones, peace to my country and its folk and loam, faith to its men and virtue to its women, health to the gracious beings that dwell within the sacred paternal home. When you reach that shore, deposit the kiss I gave you on the wings of the wind above, that the wind it may rove, and I may kiss that I worship, honor, and love. But oh, you will arrive there, flowers, and you will keep perhaps your vivid hues, but far from your native heroic earth, to which you owe your life and worth. Your fragrances you will lose, for fragrance is a spirit that never can forsake and never forgets the sky that saw its birth. So for everyone to better understand the meaning of the poem, I'm going to tell you the interpretation of each stanza. So, in the first stanza, Rizal requests the flowers to speak in behalf of him and the Philippines. For the second stanza, Rizal says that even on the early dawn when people in the Philippines start to do their own activities, he is constantly still thinking of his country and its fellow men. For the third one, he beautifully asks the flowers to bear witness to his undying concern for his motherland when at dawn he sings to the flowers playful love songs in exchange of their gift, which is the sweet petals. In the fourth stanza, in the morning under the soft light, of the early sun, he reflects still of his motherland, which is Philippines, where the same sun now is at its highest, as if he is still connected with his motherland through the sun. The fifth stanza, Rizal poetically describes his plan for the flowers to carry his message to his motherland. He plucks them and preserves them in his book. For the next stanza, his message is for the country to have peace, virtue to women, and courage to men. The next one, he poetically describes his will that his kisses on the flower may be carried by the wind to his loved ones. Rizal in the last stanza reflected on its utter futility, since the flower will no longer be the same when it reaches the country. Its beauty and perfume, which should reflect Rizal's intentions for the country, will long be gone. Why? Because it is far from its fatherland. So in this poem, Jose Rizal effectively employs a natural imagery to express his country and countrymen, and subsequently compares a person far from his homeland to a flower losing its fragrance, which means that he uses personification as a figure of speech in this poem. Rizal used a single symbol, which is the flowers of Heidelberg, but it symbolizes two realities. First, the beauty of the flower symbolizes Rizal's love for his country, and second, the flower's reduced quality refers to Rizal's useless presence in another country. Rizal described his beloved native land by mentioning his adoration of its clear blue skies that signifies peace and good climate. He wants the maidens to extend his message of love, longing, continuous safeguard to the native land, that his humble heart remains faithful to the land where he grew up. It can be seen in the second stanza that Rizal grew seeing dawn as the beginning of every single community activities that reflects the culture of Calamba as a farming land, and that harvest starts at dawn. It also magnified the Filipino attitude of being industrious. Rizal also expressed his appreciation for nature's indescribable beauty and inevitable allure of fresh scent that starts from the sweet cares of dawn until sunrise. He longed for his hometown as he appreciated the beauty of the foreign land, Heidelberg. The moral lessons of the poem are to possess gratitude for your home country and love for all your family and friends. The poem shows a deep longing of Dr. Jose Rizal for his own native land. So we are done about the poem itself. Let's talk about now the author of the poem, which is Dr. Jose Rizal. Jose Protasio Rizal Mercado y Alonso Rielonda was born on June 19, 1861 to Francisco Mercado and Chodora Alonso in the town of Calamba, province of Laguna. He had 9 sisters and 1 brother. He is a brilliant student who became proficient in multiple languages. Jose Rizal studied medicine in Manila. In 1882, he traveled to Spain to complete his medical degree. In 1887, Rizal published his first novel, Noli Me Tangere, a passionate exposure of the evils of Spanish rule in the Philippines. A sequel, El Filibusterismo, in the year 1891, established his reputation as the leading spokesman of the Philippine reform movement. He also became the leader of the propaganda movement, contributing numerous articles to its newspaper, La Solidaridad, is published in Barcelona. Rizal returned to the Philippines in the year 1892. He founded a nonviolent reform society, La Liga Filipina, in Manila, and was deported to Dapitan in northwest Mindanao. He remained in exile for the next 4 years. In the year 1896, the Katipunan, a Filipino nationalist secret society revolted against Spain. Although he had no connections with that organization and he had no part in the insurrection, Rizal was arrested and tried for sedition by the military. Found guilty, he was publicly executed by a firing squad in Manila. Rizal's public execution was carried out on Manila on December 30, 1896, when he was 35 years old, and his execution created more opposition to Spanish rule. On the eve of his execution, while confined in Fort Santiago, Rizal wrote Ultimo Adios, or Last Farewell, a masterpiece of 19th century Spanish verse. Rizal remains a nationalist icon in the Philippines for helping the country take its first step toward independence. Rizal used his intelligence to fight for our country during the Spanish colonialism, which made him really deserve to be labeled as the national hero of our country.
And that's the end of my presentation, and I hope that you learned something from it. Thank you so much.